Welcome to the CEO Project Podcast, where Jim Schleckser, author of the best-selling book, Great CEOs Are Lazy, and the founder of the CEO Project, provides ideas and tools to help CEOs of mid to large-sized companies grow and optimize their businesses. Now, let's get started with the show. Welcome, everybody, to another CEO Project Podcast. My name is Jim Schleckser. I'm your host and the founder of the CEO Project. Well, one of the things that's been in the atmosphere for, as long as I can remember, is kind of open book management. And, it is scary for a lot of CEOs out there of how do I open my kimono and show my numbers and, let everybody know what's going on, because that's all double top secret stuff that only family or the executive team ever gets to know. But you might be wrong. And today we're going to explore that topic. I have with me Kylie Jackson, and she is the Learning and Development Manager and an internal coach for the Great Game of Business. You might have heard about this. It's a book and it's a whole curriculum, but we're going to dig into that. She's a dynamic speaker known for her storytelling and practical insight. With a background in theater and a career that began in talent representation, Kylie helps people grow through financial literacy, leadership development, and open book management. Whether she's delivering a keynote, leading a workshop, or facilitating a panel, she sparks fresh thinking, builds trust, and inspires people to step into their potential. And hopefully she can do all those things for us today. Hey, Kylie, nice to see you.
Thank you. Yeah. No pressure here.
Yeah, I know. I whenever I read a bio, I'm like, and leaps tall buildings in a single bound, right? Like it's just
I can't. And I had to write one recently for a speech and redo some of my roles. And oh, it's excruciating to write about yourself. I could write about anybody else.
I know. I know. Right. And then you go, well, I can't put all this. I just got to pick a couple of things. And even then it sounds ostentatious. So yeah, I totally hear you. Well, what got you? Well, let's start with Great Game of Business. Sounds like a board game, but what is it? But what is it really?
It's so funny because I think we've gone back and forth on whether or not it trivializes business by calling it a game. But really the reason why it was...
No. It's the best game in town.
I know, it really is. And I double down on it because I feel like it makes it more approachable, right? Mm-hmm. It makes it less intimidating when you call it a game because it has the same elements of a game. You have a rule. Business has rules, right? There's rules, regulations. I mean, right now the rules keep changing a little bit.
Well, that's exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. We have we have a scoreboard. The scoreboard is the profit and loss or all of the financial statements, and we keep track of that scoreboard, and there's always a stake in the outcome. And we believe that, if everyone contributes, then they deserve a stake in that outcome as well. So that's really the game as a whole in comparison to, a board game or, the Friday Night Lights game of sports. But the analogy makes it just a little more approachable. And especially when you're trying to teach it to everyone in the organization. And that's what we believe in. We believe everyone has the capability to understand business, and why not tap into that potential? There's so much power and there's so much talent in your team that you don't even know if you don't give them the tools to unleash. So,
well, we certainly believe in the power of the group mind. I mean, we do CEO peer groups, so even other CEOs helping you out makes you better. Why wouldn't that idea translate into the organization? So I'm going to do like the elitist, highly educated. I'm an engineer. Like, are they smart enough to figure it out? Like, I know that sounds horrible when I say it, but I got to tell you, there are people that think it and they go, they're just machine operators, or they're just working a loading dock. How could they possibly understand this fancy business stuff that we do?
I'm here to tell you, I feel like I'm the poster child of it, but also I see it every day. I have the privilege of working in an SRC organization. SRC is Springfield Remanufacturing Corporation,
which is where this evolved out of, right?
Yep. It's the home base of this whole story.
Well, and just to show how people that what does SRC do?
We remanufacture engines primarily.
You got to add the sexy business of remanufacturing, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so great. And what's crazy is now we have about 10 to 11 divisions. We've spun off over 70 companies.
Nice.
And those companies were run by our associates.
Oh, nice.
So that's I believe in the power of people. Our CEO believes in the power of our people, and I see it every single day. So when you see that light bulb click when we're doing financial literacy training, and you have somebody on the front line understanding that, a $5,000 mistake costs, at 5% profitability can cost $100,000 in sales, and that could be just 20 units that they have to make and never make a profit. That matters to them,
Hmm.
because it's tied to the way we do it is we tie it to their bonus.
Hmm.
I was doing a little research, and I know you guys love the constraint theory. And
Hmm.
so if I could talk in your language a little bit, Great Game was really designed to take a constraint out of the process of communication.
Okay.
The idea was back in the day, especially in 1983, when this originated, um, there were two languages that businesses were speaking, especially at International Harvester, which was where this whole idea kind of fostered. Um, there were the business metrics, the operating metrics of manufacturing, get it out the door. What are your KPIs? And then there were the financial metrics, and no one was talking in between. These people only knew the financial metrics over up in the C-suite, up in the offices, and the people on the line only knew their metrics and they didn't understand how it connected. That's a
Mhm.
constraint in that communication process. What am I
Yep.
doing every day to make a difference in that organization? Um,
But I
and
think you also have to assume people care.
yeah,
You got to get people that are like, I actually want to do well. I want to know I did a good job today. I want to know that I won, whatever winning looks like. But tell me how to win and tell me what I need to do to win every
we
day.
say, give me the tools and get the hell out of the way.
Well, yeah, I've said that to a couple bosses and they didn't like it so much.
They
But
didn't like it.
anyway,
No.
well,
We have a different language here at SRC.
you know, this goes back to Deming, though, for those that are quality geeks, and I kind of came up in that piece of the business. And he said, look, the only way for the language of quality to talk to the language of business is to talk money. Like that's the intersection, and quality really being, to your point, manufacturing, units, scrap rates, all that stuff. You can talk to management about that all day long, but unless you translate it to this is costing us $50,000 a week, now you've got their attention, right? So I think that gap has been there forever, both ways, actually.
Mhm. And
So
when I see those light bulbs go off, because not everyone's going to be tied to that sales line. Not everyone's going to be tied,
yeah,
they're a lot of we're working in the middle of the organization, right? But how do you tie it to what matters to them? Like you were saying, first of all, purpose matters.
yep.
We can't pretend that it doesn't. They want purpose. Everybody wants a purpose. But when they're saying, all right, I have to make 20 units just to make up for this one mistake.
Uh-huh.
We were all in COVID, right? Everyone felt like they were doing three jobs for the price of one. That sucked. I don't want to go back there. But also, when you're realizing that $5,000 could have dropped to the bottom line, and
Mhm.
when you do profit sharing, like what we do at the Great Game Business, that's your bonus.
Yeah. Well, not
That's
not just yours, everybody's.
that's everybody's bonus, and we're
Yeah.
we're employee owned. So then that's the value of the organization, and
Yeah.
we're tying it to so many more purposeful things. The real beauty here is when people take it home.
Hmm.
When then they go home and it's, the profit and loss statement is the same thing as your checking.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
then they make decisions at home. Like we have this one campaign called Sharon the Dream because Sharon was a maintenance worker and she found bubble wrap, and she found it for way more for way less cost. And she was so proud of herself. But she used the Great Game of Business to get out of debt. She
Hmm.
didn't owe anybody. She paid off her house, she paid off her car, and she was so proud. And she had a 5-year plan because we involve all of our associates in our 5-year plans.
Yep.
And that's where it really matters, right? Because they get to
Yeah.
take it home. That's like,
Well,
now I have a purpose.
yeah. Now, well, Dave Ramsey would be proud of her. So,
Yeah, he sure
so,
would.
well, how far do you go here, right? So we got the top level P&L. I could see cascading that down to this work cell with 10 people in it, and you're creating, $5 million of revenue every year with this kind of profit in your work cell.
Mhm.
Um, like how far do you go and how do you connect sort of the top level P&L to the actions of the individuals? Give us some examples of how you do that.
So we go all the way down to the front line. Now,
Yep.
I do want to say when we were talking about what's scary about it, we don't share everybody's salaries. I think that's a common misconception about the Great Game of Business because it's
Yeah.
like roll it up into one number, right?
Yeah, I'm there.
Um,
Although, by the way, Gen Z, they all just tell everybody what they're making. So, I mean, that's like a boomer thing. That's my era. Like, you don't talk about what you make, right? So
I know, I feel like I'm
that's
caught in the middle
changing.
of that.
Yeah, you're a little in between, but it's changing. Like transparency is changing
It
on
is
salary.
because how many people in the world right now distrust
Yeah.
institutions and organizations?
Yep.
And why do they distrust them? Because they're not transparent.
No, it was well deserved.
Yeah, yeah, we made our bed.
Yeah.
Um,
So
so we go.
what do you tell me? You show them the top level P&L and all the line items
So
and
we have a huddle rhythm,
yeah.
you go into a team organization, what are we looking at today? What and how does that matter? And then it depends on the size of the organization,
Mhm.
right? If you have a larger organization, some of our organizations at SRCs, we have like 300 people and they have super staff, which is a super huddle. Everybody is involved in it
Yep.
and they're going over that giant P&L. But if
Hmm.
you can set your rhythm of communication where I know that in this meeting, this is the thing that I get to keep my eye on, but that fits into this puzzle piece. And then they get into another scoreboard and that fits into this puzzle piece, depending on how many meetings you kind of have that
Yeah.
roll up into that large one. Then they're in that super staff and they're like, that's my line.
Yeah.
I'm right there on the P&L. And L.
Now,
And so,
do people get called out? Like you go, hey, we missed the numbers this month, and what happened was this work cell had quality defects, and that really hurt us, and we didn't do as well as we would have liked to this month, and now everybody's like, ugh,
well,
do
I think that it
do better.
it's accountability. I mean, when you're having to expose it like
Yeah,
that, you do realize that there's accountability.
yeah.
But I don't think it's more of a blame game. It's more of like numbers are just stories of what happened.
Hmm.
Some things are just like, we have an automotive organization that is tied to GM and GM has had a rough year,
Yep.
so some things are just out of their control. The problem isn't really what happened, it's what do we do to fix it? So when we're
Hmm.
looking at these huddles and we're looking at these numbers, we're looking 3 months ahead. So we have enough time to fix something that might not be working.
Right.
It's when it's your like it could be your month, in quality that didn't work out,
Sure.
and then it could be sales month. So
Yep.
everybody has those moments. I think when you're doing this on a regular basis, um, that's ownership mentality, right? I
Yep.
own it.
And
This is
and
how we're
how do
gonna
you get people around I'm if I make a mistake, I'm gonna get fired. Like this is what people worry about. I don't want people to know about if I make a mistake, I want to keep it quiet because it puts me at risk.
right.
How do you deal with that?
We have higher laws in our it's part of our original book is higher laws. And really there's one about failure. And failure is okay as long as you improve after it. So
Mm-hmm.
we win or we learn. And I think what's really cool is we
By
have
the way,
built
that's a Mandela line, by the way.
yeah, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That was definitely not ours. But we talk about those failures because those actually present opportunities, right?
Yep. Yep.
And we have that resilient mindset. That's how our high involvement planning happens. There are so many great things that have happened from downturns. Our
Hmm.
organization in general, and I'm speaking for SRC, but people play the great game of business globally.
Yeah.
Um,
But
we
you've
have
taught it to hundreds or thousands of different companies and they've deployed it. Yes. So there's not only your business of all the things that you do now, and there's an educational component to the business where you've taught and helped people learn how to do it themselves. Yeah.
we were originally not going to be a company. People just loved our success story from Inc. magazine.
Yeah.
They begged him to write a book. He said no. And then they said, we'll give you a $75,000 down payment. And he said, I need a crankshaft grinder. And that's what they did. The
Wow.
money. So they bought, a crankshaft grinder. People read this book and like Patagonia and Southwest Airlines and Chick-fil-A, they were clinging to this mentality.
Mm,
Then people were calling us, asking us how we were doing it. And that's when we really spun off the business.
got it.
And now we're a coaching organization. But I lost my train of thought. What our original question
No,
was.
that's okay. I have a tendency to do that to people. So,
No, you're good.
um, no, we were talking about you're talking about how you deployed in your business, but then also we deployed to other people. We were going down into how do I prevent being fired, and you're talking about higher
Right.
purpose.
Okay, so I think that's about the culture, and I
Yeah,
think a culture of transparency and trust is also a culture of safety, right?
yeah, yeah. It
If you're
has to
constant,
be.
it has to be.
Yeah,
It. I think part of it is just action, right? The more they see people learn from any mistake, they're going to feel more safe. I think that's just how it is. You can't just be like, trust me, with a big smile on your
Yeah.
face.
Where
Uh,
where'd Kylie go? She
yeah,
screwed up. She screwed up last week. She's not here anymore. Yeah.
yeah, I
I
know.
actually wrote an article about that. I said, look, you can make a mistake, just don't make it twice.
Right.
Just learn from it and just prevent it in the future. That's how we learn, right? There's a joke about wisdom coming from making mistakes, and there's a whole loop there. Like I have to make mistakes to become wise, right? Which is how you avoid mistakes by becoming wise. So anyway.
And we share those mistakes. I think that's another thing is that,
Oh,
our pillars of leadership, we really talk, or our characteristics and our beliefs, be vulnerable, be humble. We have to make sure that people understand that it's not just the frontline employees that can make mistakes. We've made strategic mistakes.
hmm.
We've bounced back from those strategic mistakes. And we tell those stories over and over and over again because that's how we can get other people to learn from it.
Yeah,
We had one of our board of directors was saying, experience isn't the number of years that you're here, it's what you've lived through.
yeah, yeah, no
And
doubt.
we want to share that experience as much as possible. And we do that through open book management, through the stories that we tell, through the
Yep.
numbers that fall.
Hmm.
And I think that's kind of, Huddle's kind of a storytelling session.
Yeah. Well, and there's great research. There's the Heath's book, but this is, they call them Aesop's fables for a reason. They've been around for thousands of years. There's a reason Jesus talked in parables because
Mhm.
people remember them. So stories about culture management, right? Like what cultural elements do we want to reinforce through the stories we tell? So I love that you're doing that and you're very conscious about it. It's a powerful technique. This is for all you listening. This is a really powerful technique. Using stories to reinforce culture is the secret sauce, I think.
Mhm.
Um, so how, like, okay, I get how you guys have deployed it, and let me go back one other. Profit sharing is a requirement.
For the great game business, yeah, I mean, it's an element. It's the third element of the principles and practices. So it's really how you tie that. What do I do every day and take that ownership mentality? Now, we take that ownership mentality to employee ownership, and we don't.
Yep.
And I think there's a common misconception that you have to be employee owned also to play the great game business, and you don't.
Right.
Profit sharing looks different in every organization, but another thing when you're talking about constraint, every year we focus on a critical number, and usually
Yep.
the bonus plan is tied around that critical number or that constraint or that
Give it,
bottleneck.
give us some examples of a critical number. What is it? What does it look like?
I mean, it could be, and a lot of the times it's profit before tax.
Okay.
It's,
So, but well, we all love that number, right?
yeah,
But
but everyone can see how they tie to it, right?
sure.
Everyone can understand how they affect that number. That's the
Yep.
easiest one to draw a line of sight to
Yeah.
in terms of financial literacy. SRC Holdings had a
Yep.
critical number of retention, right?
Mm.
And when you look at retention, especially after COVID, and I mean, I think we hired, 1/4 of the people that we kept throughout that, or 4 times the people that we kept, for during COVID. We had ghosting. I think, our CEO found out what ghosting was.
Yeah.
It was crazy time.
Yeah.
Um, but retention was huge, and we've done great. We've made great strides through that. But we wanted to keep people because we needed to grow leaders because we had a growth strategy.
Yep.
And we were saying, we don't have any, we had companies knocking on our door to do joint ventures, and we didn't have anybody to lead that joint venture. So
Yep.
when you're looking 5 years ahead, you're like, we have these plans to grow and increase the value of our organization and increase your pockets because we're stock owners, right? We're all owners, but we've got to figure out how to get people, keep people, and grow people. So then we can keep funding our ESOP. We can keep growing the value of the organization. And that's
Right.
tying that line of sight, right? Everybody can be kind to somebody in the hallway. If
Hmm.
you talk about retention, you're like, hey, listen, this is why it matters. We want your
Hmm.
stock price to grow because we have the
Right.
opportunity to invest in a company that could maybe give us you know, one of our joint ventures is like $300 million in cash since we started with them.
Wow.
So, we've got to tie that line of sight and tell those stories. So you're like, wow, it does matter to me. I should be kind to this person in the hallway.
That's funny. I'm just amazed people leave even. I mean, if they drink this Kool-Aid, I'm guessing go to another firm that practices the same methodology and they'd be comfortable. But if they went to a conventional hide the data, we'll let you know what your bonus is at the end of the year environment, they must just get super frustrated.
We've had a lot of boomerang.
Yeah,
Uh,
my point. If you like that, why would you ever leave?
I think that's what's really funny. We were talking about this. had a workshop about our why, our
Yep.
employees here at Great Game. And there are a lot of people here that have been here since they got out of college, so they don't know
Mm,
anything different.
yeah.
And a lot of people came because they've been burned or they've been lied to, or it's been, and yeah, you're right. I mean, it gets, even if you get, even if you leave disgruntled or whatever, and then you go to another company, you're like, man, the grass is always greener on the other side. And you're like, but I don't even know how to fix this problem, because you were so powered in an organization that said, here's a problem, let's fix it together.
Yeah.
Instead of, mm-mm,
Yeah.
just, this is not, this is above your pay grade,
Yeah.
you know?
Only engineers can do that. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 And just
Interesting.
clock in, clock out.
And let's just go to bonus. I mean, I think there's a really important idea that transparency on how you make your profit sharing, which is to say bonus, is what causes the behavioral shift.
Yes.
And I think there's a lot of firms that are I'm not gonna say arbitrary, but it's management judgment what the bonus is going to be. But the problem is you lose all the motivational capacity of a bonus because they don't know what to do to get the bonus, right? Except suck up to the boss, I guess. I don't know. What I don't. I'm not sure what the answer
Or
is.
they're digging holes for a pool that they don't get the bonus check and they just get a
Mhm.
jelly of the month club. I mean,
That
that's
that's
what happens.
a
And
Christmas vacation, or yeah,
yeah, that's
Chevy
what
Chase. Yes.
we use as an example sometimes, because I think everyone in a room of our workshop has had a bonus and they don't understand why they got it.
Right.
And you're
Just
creating an entitlement program
yeah.
almost.
Yep.
Um, or just like setting people up for disappointment if they don't understand how the company's doing. Plus, there's a lot of fear, right? There's a lot of
Yeah.
fear in the organization. I'm not getting my bonus. I must be getting laid off or
Mm,
whatever. Um, we were really built, we've never had a layoff in 40 years, 42,
wow.
43 years, a mass layoff, because we wanted to save jobs and then we wanted to create jobs and preserve them and build wealth. That's part of that building that trust that you were
Yep.
asking. How do we, our whole culture is around, we're not going to do a mass layoff. We're going to talk
Mhm.
to you about the things that could happen before that. We might have a value decrease in your stock where you didn't even have to put money in the first place.
Mhm.
Our benefits, which are amazing over here, might not, they might not be as great, but they're still going to be good,
Mhm.
And then we talk about kind of like that layer, that core, and death is the cliff. That's the flatlining, and we're not there yet, and that's that transparency and that communication.
Yeah.
But
Now, have you had years where you didn't pay bonuses and everybody, because everybody understood it, they're like, yeah, I get it. I know what
yeah, I
happened.
mean, so all of our organization is different, right?
Right.
So Great Game of Business, SRC Automotive,
Mhm.
we're kind of like an engine in itself,
Mm.
and we were built like that, to where when one industry is thriving, we look at the economy, and we don't want all your eggs in the trucking
Yeah.
industry, because that can have a recession every 5 years.
It's been cyclical as hell lately. It's been really very rough. Yeah.
So when one is down, the other one's up.
Okay. So that's
Um,
the portfolio design was to try to help you with that.
Yeah, and
Okay. Mm.
now I'm very happy to be a part of this portfolio design, because my stock price is attached to that whole
Mhm.
portfolio, right?
Mhm.
The bonus, yeah, I mean, we've had, all of our companies have gone years max bonusing and then no bonus at all. We're
Yeah.
kind of facing that right now, where
Right.
the tariffs are excruciating. Supply chain is really affecting our organizations. One of our organizations has had to literally do that, go from, you know, 13 13 months straight of max bonusing. And we do it quarterly. So they've
Okay.
had a max bonus for, you know, a year, full year of every quarter, they would just get max. Um, to not, and even having to cut overtime, right?
Wow.
But you
Hmm.
have to explain that every time. And every time you get that bonus, it's an education opportunity.
Hmm.
We got this bonus because X, Y, and Z. Or, hey guys, and when you're looking at it on a regular basis, we're not hitting bonus. Who has any ideas on how we can make up for this?
Got
If
it.
you're having quality issues,
Hmm.
that money's not falling to the bottom line, right?
Hmm.
Then you can find that bottleneck, and then we build a mini game around it, because we're still maybe tied to the critical number of profit before tax. And we say mini games are just like a smaller version. It's like a focus.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's like a Kaizen event for those that use Kaizen. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Mhm.
We just make it fun. They can build their own prizes. You've got 90 days to change a behavior is the idea. And
Yep.
then usually it shoots up, plateaus a little bit, but at least you're way better than you were before.
Yeah. Interesting. So when you engage with companies on the educational side, not talking about SRC at the moment, but more great game of business, how do you engage with companies if they wanted to deal with you guys?
Yeah, we have coaches that come in and help implement. So
Okay.
first we have we build a design team.
Mhm.
So it's really based off of people from all parts of the organization. We want representation from different departments. And you
Mhm.
design what your game's going to look like. We say adapt, don't adopt. It's not just going to be cookie cutter into your organization. We understand everyone's a unicorn, right?
Yeah.
We hear that every time we talk to somebody.
CEOs tell me all, I'm so unique. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry you're not, but great that you think you are.
If you have a P&L,
You're a little
yeah.
bit unique.
And all we ask is, do you have a financial statement?
Yeah.
Yes, you can play the game.
Yeah, there you go.
Not for profits, it's like profit's a bad word. No. Do you have a P&L? It's a scoreboard. You can play the game. And
Yeah.
we've no money, no mission, right?
Yeah.
So we go in and we have a design team that comes in and you really design what the game's going to look like. And from there, you talk about opening the books. You do that financial literacy training. Level 2 is then we start training everybody in the organization through financial literacy. And we have these modules that we work
Yep.
on. We have beginning financial literacy and we've done an intermediate and we're working on an advanced now because people are just hungry and they want more. It's
Yeah.
cool. Um, and then our level 3 is our high involvement planning, where it's like, where do we want to be when we grow up? What kind of strategic moves do we need to make now to get there? Um, I think one of our aha moments was we were doing these 5-year plans and we did not have a people plan attached to it. We didn't
Mm.
have HR at the table when you're like, we're going to grow 5 times. And it's like, okay, who's going to do it? And
Yeah,
so
right.
that was one of those like, oh, let's change this process a little bit.
Mm.
Um, so you get everybody in the organization to buy into the plan
Mhm.
because if it's not their plan, if
Yeah,
it's
no,
not the goals that they set, they're not going to
not
execute.
going. Shit, lost my train of thought on that. I agree with bringing people in on the process. And there's a lot of research that says that's the only way that they're ever going to be successful. So that's for the win. Um, what about the accountants? So, they're like got the secret stuff that they do in the back room that nobody else understands. And you're now opening that all up. Like all this secret stuff I used to do, now everybody understands. Is there a reaction from the financial teams ever? Or do they go, oh, thank God, I can actually speak my language to everybody?
I mean, kind of. I feel like
Yeah.
it's more of a relief. I for all the accountants I've talked to,
Yeah.
um, most companies that play great game can close the books in 3 to 4 days.
Nice. Yeah.
And we have people that come and give tours and they're like, I'm sorry, did you say days? Because they're closing them in months because they have to double check. Now, I do not want to discount all of the hard work that our accountants do.
No, I'm in the camp of it's ridiculous that it takes more than 5 days to close the books. We
Right.
used to close them in like 2 days in one of my businesses. There's no reason you can't do it fast.
No, and I think when everybody is bringing in the numbers, there's less hunting, right? Where did this come from? Where did that come from? I own a line. I
Yeah.
have a line that I report and I have my own scoreboard and I know everything that goes into that line.
Mm,
And so if there's a question about where this thing happened, I can give it to you. Or if
mm,
there's a question on even when we're all budgeting for our own scoreboards and our own
mm.
lines. So now the accountant's not like, all right, I'm just gonna, increase, let's hope we get it
Right. Go up 10%, see
year
what
over
happens.
year. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's tell our stories. Let's talk about, hey, this is maybe not the year that this line grows. Let's look at the economy. Maybe this is not the year where people are going to throw money into coaching. Maybe we've doubled down on training.
Hmm.
We're building an LMS right now. Got to talk about how much that's going to cost in order for us to ramp up. Um, and that's like, and I'm owning the LMS line, so it's like,
Okay.
what's our R&D? And I can explain everything. So I feel like there's a relief in that sense. I read the book Financial Intelligence, and
Mhm.
a lot of that finagling is just art of accounting, and they
Yeah.
have the opportunity to tell the story. Our salaries are in expenses, manufacturing, sometimes it's in direct costs, right? Those are just that's just a different art.
Yep.
It's not doing it
Interesting.
wrong.
And maybe last question, how do you think AI is going to change? This is like the question everybody's asking. How's it going to change the business and the methodology that you guys are using? Because it's a very human process.
It is a very human process, and I'm so glad you brought that up. I'm kind of seeing it right now. We're getting ERP systems, all these in our organization. And old school was, if if materials usage was off, the purchaser had to go talk, why is that happening? And they got that story. When things are happening automatically, there's less time for you to go and talk and understand that story, which means a lot of those education opportunities get a little lost.
Yep.
That has been that's what's keeping me up at night right now. How do we mimic, because we're not going to be able to convince organizations to not try to automate. They have to keep up with the competition. We double down on competitive intel. We need to know what our competition's doing. We're not going to not go to robotics if our competitors are doing it. But I think there's a loss of that face-to-face education communication, because those numbers are just getting rolled up into one big number, right?
Yeah.
And we're not drilling down to understand what actually caused this problem, because maybe it's not one big problem. Maybe it's 10 different problems rolling up into that material variance. That's something we're actually working on a training right now to try to combat that. And how can these systems, this data mining, how can we pull it out and pull out a scoreboard that they know how much material they're using per unit or whatever? But it's kind of having to go backwards a little bit.
Yeah, interesting. Well, Kylie, this was fabulous. I really appreciate you taking the time. If somebody wanted to reach out and investigate working with you guys, what would be the best way to get a hold of you in the organization?
Well, they can reach out to us. They can go to www.greatgame.com.
Greatgame.com. Yep.
Greatgame.com. If they're interested in coaching, they can reach out to Jeff Sneed at jsneed, SNEED, at ggob.com. Or they can reach out to me, and it's kjackson at ggob.com. I'm happy to talk to anybody about this. I'm obviously passionate about it. So thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored.
Tremendous. That was great. I think you had a lot of great knowledge that you shared. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And for those of you that listened today, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the CEO Project Podcast. Thanks for listening to the CEO Project Podcast. We'll see you next time. Be sure to subscribe to get all the future episodes and check out our website, www.theceoproject.com.